We're back with content, and this shit is gonna be fire. You guys think it's true, the whole hungry, why wait? Just eat a Snickers? I haven't eaten anything today. It's like 2:30. I've been up since 4 a.m. Usually hits the spot. Just eat a Snickers. Getting ready to go into a prospect. Actually did something different. First time ever that I've had somebody reach out to me either through our website or through LinkedIn that found us, came across us by first looking at his first degree connections, and then he looked into his existing network on LinkedIn to see if anybody had any marketing agencies or skills or things like that. So that was the first time it happened. Definitely some pretty cool stuff. That's a good idea for him to think of that. You know see who he existingly knows and then reach out to them from there. Some of you may notice a different setting in the car. No, this is not my car. This is my wife's Tahoe. Ever since like a week after we moved down to Austin from Chicago, the AC in my car, out. It's been a few weeks now. Actually, it's probably been like a month. Just have not made it a priority to get it fixed. I had a scheduled appointment with the dealership, and the dealership's down here. We're just crazy with the lead time, so I'm gonna figure something else out and get that fixed. But didn't want to be sweating in this hot Texas weather of 95 today before I go to a client. So that's why this looks a little bit fancier than my normal car, but no, this is not my car. Yeah, I know some people think that backpacks are stupid and ridiculous in business, but works for me. Google will say you're on page 17 for this keyword. To go from page 17 to 1, that's what that content marketing, SEO maintenance stuff, that's how you get up there, is that you have to keep on pushing to get Google to understand that you're creating new content, you're a subject matter expert, you're doing all these things, and that's how you go up in the rankings. Right. Okay. The guys that are in positions 1 and 2 and 3 now for a lot of your keywords, if they're not doing anything like that, even though they're still in position 1, it's because nobody's challenging them. To where when we work with a lot of manufacturing companies, there's not usually much protection for those top positions, so it's a lot easier for us to sneak in by going really aggressive, and then before they even notice it, you've already gotten enough traction, and then you're in a defensive position to say, we're gonna keep producing content and we wanna stay at the top. And so with your budget that you'd like to spend, here's what we can do that's effective. Right. Instead of being like, when some people give us ranges of, let's say, a month, I'll say, this is what you should do. Don't do. I'm not trying to just get more money out. It makes no sense until you're ready to go. Just stick at the lower number. Right. I would rather show sales growth to then have you guys stack and rack cash and then use it when it's appropriate on something like that. I need to find a place to pull over to do a little sales pipeline management rant, give you guys some tips on that. I'm just gonna go on a rant. I don't know if it's gonna be 5 or 3 or 2 or 7, but mistake that people make in sales, making assumptions, assuming that you have a deal closed when you don't have it closed. If you assume, and a lot of our clients, salespeople do this, and I've seen this in, I don't care if you're selling services or products or B2B or startup or anything, do not assume that a deal is closed until you get a signed contract, okay? It's really important to let that sink in, because a lot of times people will go and they get a feeling that the deal's going to be good. They're 99.9% positive that the deal's going to be good. They start making assumptions. They start celebrating before the deal's even done. When you assume that the deal is done, while that not only will be hurtful when you find out that you didn't close the client, what it matters more is from a standpoint of your pipeline. If you don't assume anything and you just work people through your pipeline and keep working that pipeline, bring new people in, you're never too busy, you're always hungry, you're trying to get more and more and more and more, when things don't go as planned, it's not that big of a deal. When you make assumptions and you choke up on your pipeline, you say, I'm so busy right now, I know that these 4 deals are going to be done. If 2 of those 4 or 3 of those 4 don't close, for whatever reason, either they pick somebody else over you, or they push the project out, or they decided not to do whatever it is that you're selling. When that happens, it's not that big of a deal, right? Because if you've got all this other pipeline activity, because you're not making assumptions, the only thing that you're assuming is that no deal is done until it's closed. It's going to be less of an issue for you when deals don't get closed or they get pushed out. So you have to focus on your pipeline and constantly being hungry and making sure that you are always trying to get more activity and more people into the funnel. As soon as you rest on your laurels, as soon as you become complacent, as soon as you start making assumptions, as soon as you think that things are going so well, that pipeline dries up like that. A couple deals fall through, maybe you get 2 of them, maybe a bunch fall through, things get pushed out, people stop responding to you. This is the stuff that happens every day in sales. If you're new to this, this is a crash course. If you're a veteran, you know what I'm talking about. But when you pause your pipeline and choke up on it and choke that off, and you don't keep feeding that top of the funnel, when that happens and things don't go as planned, guess what? You're starting over and you're like, oh shit, I need to go and get some new prospects. I need to go and get some new leads. I need to start this thing back up. And it's not like you can just pick up where you left off. It is not a faucet to turn on and off. This isn't an advertising campaign that's been proven over years where you can just say, when I run this ad, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to make some assumptions based on data. There's no data to be assumed here. You cannot just turn it on and be like, hey, I want some new activities, so let me do this, and that. There's going to be a delay. Depending on your business, depending on what it is that you sell, that's going to dictate what it is. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 3 months, maybe it's 3 weeks, maybe it's 4 days. Whatever it is, there is a delay just by the nature of sales. So never make those assumptions. Keep feeding that pipeline. Do not rest on your laurels. Do not think that you're too busy to take on anything. In my terminology, there's whales, sharks, and fishes. Sometimes, for some businesses, you quote unquote whale hunt. You look for big contracts. Maybe whatever it is that you sell, you have a high dollar price that's only to Fortune 500 companies, whatever it is. You're going after the big fish. But even within your target demographic, there's people that are bigger than others. When people only hunt for whales, you're going to end up being disappointed, because if you put your eggs in that basket and only go after the big guys because they're going to have a big payout, your sales process gets delayed by these big whales, or you're putting all of your eggs in that basket of 5 accounts that you're trying to close, and if they don't close, then you're basically shit out of luck. You're starting over from scratch. So even if your target demographic is big people, break it down into smaller chunks and break it down into smaller groups, at least 3 of them. If you don't go after only big corporations, and you can use the philosophy of whales, sharks, and fishes, you need to balance everything within that. You need to have little accounts that you're going after, medium-sized accounts that you're going after, and the big ones too, because the sales process is going to be different, which if you've been doing this, you already know. Sometimes bigger accounts take longer to nurture and longer to close. Sometimes they're faster. All depends on what you're selling. But you need to work all 3 areas and spread that love into the different target demographics, because if you don't, and you put everything towards one area, if something happens, your pipeline's dry. That's what this is all about, is keeping that pipeline full, top of the sales funnel, bringing new people in, working them through your process, getting them into proposal, then doing your follow-up, then going into the closing phase. Assume nothing, go after everybody, spread the love, and stop thinking that just because somebody says, I think I want to do business with you, or I'm gonna go do business with you, that's a yes. It's not a yes until the contract is signed, and then you can start to celebrate. But until that contract's signed, you shouldn't be doing shit. Don't celebrate anything. When I got out of that meeting, which was a follow-up to a proposal, I had one notification from a prospect that I thought had a good likelihood of closing that isn't. I had one notification from somebody that I didn't feel like we were gonna be beating out the competition on, and we did get that project. And I had 5 new people that were interested in doing business with us that set up appointments with me. That's a lot of activity, and it's good activity. But if I'm like, okay, I'm good, I'm gonna just, don't worry about anything new, my pipeline will be dry very quickly when some of these things don't come through. So you have to focus on keeping that pipeline. Do not become complacent. Stay after that business. Stay hungry. Keep going on it more and more and more. And this isn't from a greed standpoint, trying to get more business. Don't let your ego get in the way. Just go after it, and then be in control of what you do and don't want to take once the opportunities come up. But keep feeding those people into the funnel. One of the next videos that we do, it's going to be about sales follow-up. If you're in sales, I've got some follow-up tactics that you guys can use. I've gotten a few messages on it. Keep following the channel. As always, like this, share it, subscribe, and we'll get you on the next video.